Narcolepsy.
All right, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Dynneson Discussions number 5. Holy crap, we actually made it to 5 consistent shows almost. I'm your host, Casey Dynneson, and tonight we'll be talking about entertainment and the problems that are associated with it, especially nowadays. So we're going to cover a wide variety of topics. With me tonight is Casey Ragdoll. So you got the two Caseys going on tonight. How you doing,
Yeah,
Rags?
it's the Casey's commentary cube,
Yeah.
with the three Ks. Anyway, that was a little much.
Yeah.
Even I tried to avoid that kind of joke, even though the others from the old page used to try to make me have a Casey's commentary corner a while ago. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And I just did it. Well,
Yeah.
you win, Keck, not the frog Keck, but K3. You win, Shane.
Yeah.
Freaking furry. Anyway, yeah, I'm doing all right. I just saw Ghost in the Shell, and
What'd you think?
I cried. I cried so many times.
It was pretty good.
It was so faithful to the source material. I couldn't believe it. And some people are trying to say it's not. Well, the first anime movie, and then called it a day. It is, with the exception to the big change to the Major's backstory. Which no spoilers. I'm not going to spoil it since I don't know if this is a spoiler.
I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it. It kind of
well, the change to the backstory changes everything else about the universe, because the Major's the first full shell cyborg, right?
Yeah.
It's just the particular place in the timeline that happens is shifted, and because of that, it affects everything else about their world, which makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, I like the Ghost in the Shell, but that kind of segues into my kind of my first little shtick, because you liked it, right?
I loved it. I cried so many times. I'm not gonna talk. I'm not gonna shut up about how many times I cried. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was really well done. I mean, the iconic scenes that they recreated were really fucking good.
Oh yes. And then it created something. It established something new for itself, which is this version of the Major. This, the way her true philosophy is on things. It was a good variation of the Major. It made it good. It made something of itself to stand on its own, while also being really something that loves the fans.
So basically, it's a really damn good adaptation.
Yeah, it is. It might be my favorite movie. I'm still rattling it around in my head after having seen this now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the complaints I hear from people are they're just really shallow complaints. Like, we could talk about before this was even released.
Most of them are.
God.
Most of them are based off of the SJW argument, which I don't understand what they have out for this movie. I don't personally believe in the notion of people out to destroy our beloved media or whatever. Yet, I almost want to believe it with the way that there was just a coordinated smear campaign on this film, and good for the producers and everybody involved for maintaining artistic integrity and not ruining the twists or the surprise to defend themselves. Because let me tell you, they could have proven very easily that all these awful things people said were wrong, but then they would have ruined the movie, and the twists, the emotional things that happened, they wouldn't have been such tearjerkers.
Yeah.
To see, they wouldn't have. The art would have been ruined.
Yeah. So. Well, we have a wild Sam that has recently joined us. My another one of my regular co-hosts, Sam Whitfield, has joined us. How's it going, Sam?
Good. How are you guys doing? Sorry, I'm late. I was trying to fix my browser. Long story short, I kept trying to load the Hangout in Safari, and it kept saying I didn't have the plugin, so I finally said screw it and switched to Google Chrome. So
yeah,
Chrome is really the only browser that Hangouts works on.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, we were just talking about we kind of were talking about the SJW argument. I don't know. Do you guys think that that particular bracket is losing power, or is it gaining power? because I've noticed that because Jeff Holiday recently. By the way, I offered Jeff a chance to come on here. I tagged him when I was posting, so maybe we might get him. Who knows? But he recently did a video talking about diversity in comic books and how it's kind of that whole ethos has been kind of hijacked by them, and people are now starting to get really tired of it. And I mean, it was one thing with Gamergate, but go ahead.
It's why I stopped buying comic books, honestly. And
Yeah, go ahead.
And I'm a huge comic book nerd. I mean, before I was into politics, like, you know, in middle school and whatnot, I mean, like I would like subscribe, you know, to like a couple of the Marvel titles, a couple of the DC titles. It's not as bad with DC these days, but you know.
Well, no, DC's got a problem just because they do it openly, and they're the most cynical people. They're outright saying, yeah, we know this kind of sucks, but we're still gonna do it because it gets us money.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean that's like a whole nut.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing. I mean, I forget who it was. I think it was Chuck Dixon. You know, he's like the one lone conservative comic book writer out there. He's the one who actually created the character of Bane.
Well, Frank Miller also is out there too. But I don't think this is just an ideological thing because you got a lot of people that you would classically define as on the left saying, yeah, these people are fucking jerk offs. And we're tired of them.
Well, so back up here because I came in late. What were you guys talking about social justice in relation to movies or what?
Well, just in general,
just in media in general.
Well, I mean, we could literally do a 12-hour live stream on this.
Well, yeah, I was saying I could talk about Ghost in the Shell for 10 million years. Now, I was going to actually see if we could segue into the into comics and things, you know, from Ghost in the Shell, seeing as it's a manga related.
Yeah, I mean, it's an issue. Well, now because here's the issue with the whole criticism. Because again, this is why I bring up. Do you guys think it's because we know it's a minority. We know it's a minority of people that just want to complain about shit, but it's a very loud one, and it's one that often cripples a title.
Yeah, I don't think it would have made an appreciable difference simply because Sony failed to promote the film as much as it could until the first the you know couple of weeks of the movie coming out. You know, when I saw what really sold at me was wanting to see it was when I saw the first. Really, the first 9 minutes, they kept the shelling process, which is what the movie opens with, spoilers, as a surprise, which was really cool to see in 3D. Oh my god, that was so cool. And
yeah,
they, I didn't see that much heavy promotion for it. But here's the thing: it's a cyberpunk movie. It's a very you know, the genre is full of thought and stuff. And there was actually a lot of people, negative reviews I read, accused it of being hollow, when really it was just the deep thought stuff, you know, going over people's heads. Unfortunately. But this film, it was a cyberpunk movie opening up against some dumb DreamWorks animated film, which just slew everything anyway. And
wait, what did it open?
The second weekend of a Disney movie, and I don't.
What movie did it open against?
Going to be a Disney title.
What?
It opened up against like that stupid Boss Baby.
Boss Baby. Boss Baby.
Oh god damn it! Is that what prevented it from getting?
Yeah, it definitely hurt it. It definitely hurt it. People went to see Boss Baby, and people went to see Beauty and the Beast.
God damn
So
it.
it opened up at number 3, and then like the SJWs just went berserk, talking all about how this film was a flop and it was failing. Like number 3 was somehow like
Compared to what?
compared to a Disney film and a Boss
It's
Baby.
fucking Disney.
Yeah, you're not going to beat a Disney movie even in its second weekend. I don't care what you are.
Yeah, yeah,
And again, this is Cyberpunk. Generally doesn't sell that well. Science fiction does, but it's not a category that's like always blockbuster all the time.
Yeah.
well, I mean,
But I do know people that because of the smear campaign didn't go to see it, and they did themselves a disservice. And the thing is, I wasn't just due to economic reasons, I wasn't able to go see the movie until its run. And then another thing that hurt the film definitely was Furious 8, The Fate of the Furious, came out.
Oh, yeah.
And people were going to go see that. I mean, I'm not. It's a Furious movie. I want to go. I want to see it at some point.
Yeah,
in some
same here.
form.
Same here.
But
well, I mean,
I missed being able to see this Ghost in the Shell. I apologize, Sam.
Yeah.
But I miss going to see Ghost in the Shell in IMAX 3D, which would have been amazing after seeing this film in a 4K screen. But because Furious 8 booted it out about halfway into its run.
Yeah.
Or towards the end there. I don't know. But you see what I'm saying? This film wasn't given the theatrical distribution time it needed, and then it wasn't given the promotion it needed, and it's an underperforming genre in the first place. I think we'll see a sequel at some point somehow if the Blu-ray sales are good. Because the Japanese, the anime companies, which Production IG was still involved in this, they don't play by the same set of rules that Hollywood usually does for these things.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing though. Just going back to the kind of the overall smear campaign, because it does tie into kind of what has been an ongoing debate for the better part, I'd say, of how long would you give? 4 or 5 years? I mean, and really, I mean, just the boiling point. I mean, we could say it's been going on for longer than that, but it's the debate of, take your pick. What's one they won't shut up about? It's representation. It's the diversity mantra.
yeah.
And look, diversity is great for a variety of reasons, but when it becomes a fucking necessity, which apparently it's becoming more and more like that for certain genres.
And yeah,
It's really becoming bad in the action movie genre too, which I'll touch on here in just a sec.
Yeah, go ahead.
But it was Sam's turn.
No,
Sam's
it's your turn. It's your turn because we're
so. Are you trying to get anybody else on stream too?
Yeah, I already put.
You already spammed. Okay.
Yeah,
do we have any viewers this time?
We have 0 viewers, but
we need to do some Q&A or something.
Yeah.
Did you post this in the SJW group? You should post this in the SJW.
Yeah, I will. I'll do that right now.
I'll post it in the Rowdy Conservatives ballroom too.
Yeah,
that sounds. Add me to that, Sam. That sounds like an interesting thing to at least witness.
Well, yeah.
Rowdy Conservative ballroom.
Well, here's the thing. Well, here's the crazy thing, because I just want to get your guys' initial opinions on that. Because do we think? Because I will admit that I can see that the call for representation, but do you guys think it's a shallow kind of thing when put under scrutiny, or do you guys think?
I do. And here's the thing. In the real world and in my other life, breaking character for a bit. I'm an activist. I actually do things. I make these calls for representation and things. I have these discussions.
Yeah.
And what we need, and I'm not alone in this view, is we need, there is a problem, but comics, music, movies, all these things are great, and they don't need to be changed. They simply need to be added to. And the problem is that these social justice warriors whine about wanting to change things, wanting to meddle, as opposed to add to them. And in the case of Ghost in the Shell is interesting. Sam, have you seen the movie?
No. Honestly, the whole thing with Ghost in the Shell is I hadn't even heard of it until like the first trailer came out, and
but you don't know about anything about the franchise at all?
No, although I'm certainly interested in it. Given the whole,
it's phenomenal.
I'm at this point, I'm kind of like, if it pisses off the SJWs, like I want to go see it. So.
Ghost opinion as somebody who was introduced to the franchise via the film versus the manga or the standalone complex, which in my opinion is the definitive form of Ghost in the Shell. But this film is almost, and people are going to call for my head for this, but this film is almost as good as standalone complex.
It was
taken as a whole. It integrated things from standalone complex into it. I mean, it integrated things from all across the franchise into it. I mean, for God's sakes, they included music from Ghost in the Shell 2 Innocence.
Yeah.
I lost my shit when I heard that soundtrack. I'm like, I was like, oh, wow, they love us. They love the fans. This was a movie for the general audience and the fans. Yes. Yeah. But the interesting thing about to avoid spoilers, we're just going to call her Major.
Yeah.
The interesting thing about choosing Scarlett Johansson for the Major shell is it is, just her shell. And they make commentary about race and consumerism. They do touch on making things white a little bit. In the movie, which makes sense because I heard that the director from the first film intentionally wanted that version of the Major, from the Ghost in the Shell, the animated movie. He wanted her to look kind of Caucasian in the by design.
Yeah, well, I mean,
as a matter of Rochelle's design in the first place.
He handpicked Scarlett Johansson actually.
Really, I did not know that.
He did. He also picked a couple other people. That the thing, because the problem with anime is that the characters in general, if you want to guess their ethnicity, it's very hard, unless they're expressly saying, this is in Japan.
They're supposed to be abstract.
Yeah. Whereas, like in Western comics, you can kind of tell because it's more real. It's more realism.
Well, we give a shit about that more here in the West, obviously.
I don't know. I think it depends on the genre. Like I love The Walking Dead, and there's like the comic books are fucking awesome, and I some of the best characters, like fucking King Ezekiel is the shit. He's got a fucking tiger, and he's this old black dude with gray dreads, and he's got a pimp stick.
Okay, yeah. This gives me something interesting to think about. The way the SJWs wind was almost the same way that some of the white nationalist groups whined about Black Heimdall. You remember Black Heimdall?
Yeah, I remember. I really don't because it's I don't really remember that at all because I was like, oh, it's fucking Idris Elba.
Yeah, well, I mean, Black Heimdall is fucking great. I mean, that really worked out in that film. He made that version of the character what it was by his acting and everything. He was the best actor for the role, and because the Asgardians are technically cosmic interdimensional aliens, they could be whatever, so long as they match the attitude and personality of the characters to some degree. Now the difference, contrasting that with Ghost in the Shell, even though it's the same kind of whining from people, and weren't even Asian, so it's what is their compulsion? That's what I want to understand. But people want to go Shell.
Well, I would say with the white nationalists, it's a reaction to fucking the SJWs, because that's all they are. They're just a reactionary thing to the fucking SJWs.
I don't know. I don't know. And with Heimdall, it wasn't that because that occurred before this stuff really started to hit critical mass.
Yeah, but you could still kind of see it, and yeah, you could say it doesn't really matter. And if I don't fucking look, I'm obsessive about this shit, and if I don't really remember it, it probably didn't have a huge.
But yeah,
kickoff.
but trusting this with Thor, and Thor, Idris Elba was the best actor for the job of the character.
Yeah,
With Scarlett Johansson and the Major, it was necessary to have somebody as that shell. So, it for the whole film. It's a linchpin almost. So that was that was an artistic decision, and I'm happy they stood by it. And it just makes me furious that all these people made this noise about something they couldn't possibly understand. Like, clearly, if you're a fan of the franchise,
I'd much rather.
and this is how I know people are talking about their ass. If you're a fan of the franchise, you understand that these are cyborgs.
Yeah.
Major especially, that the Major could have been anyway. The Major could have been a black actress. They bet you they wouldn't have been whining then.
Japan would have cared. Japan would have fucking cared.
Japan might have cared. Yeah.
Japan might have fucking just like, why is Beyonce here? You know it would have been fucking Beyonce or some shit.
No, I don't think so. They could have found.
Yeah,
somebody.
but whatever. Yeah, but the thing fans, like real fans, really won't give a shit. But unless they're like really have a actor in mind, and like, because I don't know, is anyone a fan of the Dark Tower series here?
I am.
You are?
Yeah.
What do you think that Idris Elba was the right choice for that? Or I shouldn't say the right choice, but do you guys think that? Because I haven't heard anything from that fucking movie for like a good 6 months.
I didn't even know that they were making that into a movie. That's based off the Stephen King comic book, right?
Yeah, it was a novel first, but it became a comic book. It's a good one.
Yeah, yeah. I remember reading that when I was like a kid.
They picked the best actor they could for the job.
Yeah. I agree with you, but
okay. How about this? That Daredevil movie, Black Kingpin. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I could see it, but I think it's one thing where you have a guy like, because I like Idris Elba. I think he should have his own series. But to me, whenever I think of Luther's fucking great. Whenever I think of the gunslinger, I think of Clint Eastwood. Like, he's described as Clint Eastwood. That was an art, like all the artists based him off of Clint Eastwood. So why not?
His acting is gonna define it.
I know, but it's not. I really don't care. Really, because all the other casting is really spot on. Like like fucking Matthew McConaughey is gonna play Randall Flagg. How fucking awesome is that?
Well, and that kind of brings up another topic, because I think I mentioned this last time, but one of my favorite novels is finally getting adapted as a film, and that's American Assassin by Vince Flynn. Phenomenal. I was never into reading at all, period, much less into spy novels and whatnot prior to reading this series, but it's really good. And at first I was skeptical as to how the movie was going to turn out, but they have Michael Keaton as one of the lead roles in the movie, and then they have I'm blanking.
I know who you're talking about. He's the guy from Teen Wolf.
Yeah, they have that guy as the main character, and I couldn't see it at first, but after going back and reading, I'm like, yep, that works out. The only thing that kind of makes me worry that this might go into the SJW direction is they do have, I guess, this black actress as she's like playing Mitch Rapp's handler. That's the name of the character. And in the novel, who worked from the CIA was a white redhead. So I was originally thinking that they could have cast someone like, oh, I don't know. They could have even cast someone
Christina, what's her face, Hendricks or some shit like that.
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
Sig- or
In fact, that's
Sigourney-
what I was kind of.
Or Sigourney Weaver or fucking any of that stuff.
Well, yeah. Actually, it's funny that you bring up Christina Hendricks because she was one of the people who I had floated for the name, and yet they decided to go for this black actress, and it's not that I have anything against black actresses or anything, but like when I went, I've talked to a couple of the people on Facebook who know people who have worked on the movie, and I can't reveal any names, but I asked them like, so is there any reason why they decided to go with this actress as opposed to some actress who actually looks the part of Irene Kennedy? And they basically said, well, we can't really think of a good reason, but so far it's looking like it was like a racial thing. And I'm like,
well, I mean, the thing with that is, and I maybe it's just because I'm pretty fucking cynical about this stuff. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I see something that kind of deviates for no real sense, I instead of doing what I used to do, which is like, oh, she's probably just a really good actor, I automatically was like, oh well, they got to get them diversity points.
That's what I'm hoping happens. Like, if this actress, like, I'm still gonna go see the movie.
I know who she is because I've seen her in other stuff, and I'm
right.
just blanking on her name.
And I'm like, I'm still gonna go see the movie because I'm a fan of the book franchise. So like, what I'm hoping is that like she knocks out of the park, like, because I mean sometimes like that does happen. Like Daniel Craig, for example, like when he first took on the role of James Bond, like I was incredibly cynical of them having a blonde James Bond, right?
Yeah.
But after seeing Casino Royale and the subsequent films he's done since then, like he's gone from being like my the Bond I was most skeptical of to being my absolute all-time favorite Bond next to Sean Connery.
Yeah.
So I mean, if she can pull it off, that's great. But at this point, I feel like it's just SJW saying, well, we need to have the head of. We need to have.
Well, I wouldn't say SJW. I would say it's like that.
Yeah.
I would also. I don't know. What do you think, Rag?
I'm sorry, I was distracted. What?
No, we're just kind of talking about our cynicism towards casting. Noticeably.
Well, I like I said, I already said everything I had to say about things like Black Heimdall or whatever. Here's the thing: there's people that do this for the shallow reasons, and then things become terrible. There's people that make, frankly, racist casting decision. Look at The Last Airbender. M. Night Shyamalan has some kind of issues with his own ethnicity when he, cast them all as the firebenders for some reason.
I think that was just fucked up. Okay, can we be honest that wasn't the only thing wrong with that fucking movie? because it wasn't just.
But it was one of the major things wrong with that movie. Was all
Yeah, go ahead.
weird. Although the Aang was good. I mean, not gonna lie, that was,
Yeah, that Aang kid was pretty okay. I wish they characterized him as not being such a prick, like a little shit, and make him crack a couple jokes for God's sakes. You know what?
I know Aang's supposed to be funny, and
you know what?
the kid himself has the personality to deliver those jokes. I mean, he basically is.
He looked like
real
fucking
life
Aang. He looked like fucking Aang.
Yeah.
You shaved his
apparently,
head.
And apparently all his friends called him Aang anyway. So
Yeah. Well,
and he was a real martial artist.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing that I couldn't stand about that is that okay, but you basically just made them all Indian for the Fire Nation. They're clearly Japanese.
Yeah. Well, Japanese or China, they're like a mix of Japan, China, and just Japan and China, really.
Yeah. Like, like you couldn't pick like I don't know. I mean, with the air nomads, you can kind of get away with being kind of diverse in what they look like. I mean, there was a characterization, but I would even say that the nomadic part kind of dissuades the fact that they'd look all Tibetan. They probably would look very different than everyone else because they are nomadic.
Or how about how white? I mean, even the actors were like, "So what? We'll get a tan," but then they weren't given, instructions to get tans in, to be the Water Nation.
Here's the thing with the Water Tribe. Some of them looked the part. Yue looked the fucking part, but Sokka and his sister did not. Their grandma looked the part.
Yeah, that was just. There are a lot of things wrong with it, but that's an example of it being like just intentionally fucked up,
So you think M. Night just said fuck it?
Well, yeah. I think he's got some kind of issues with
being an Indian.
Yeah,
I don't think so. I think he was just being an idiot, and I think I think that's actually. Go ahead.
I think he's like my Filipino friend that really hates the Philippines. Of course, I don't know any Filipinos that particularly like the Philippines.
It's the fucking Philippines, dude. They got pirates and shit.
Yeah.
M. Night Shyamalan. I mean, I'm kind of with the nostalgic on this. Like, M. Night Shyamalan is just fucking weird.
Well, M. Night can really. He recently did a movie. He recently did a movie called Split, and I fucking loved it because it was like, yes, M. Night Shyamalan's fucking back.
Which movie was this?
Split.
Really?
Go watch it. Did you see it?
Well, no, I hadn't seen it, and I'm approaching it with some trepidation just because I have some personal emotional baggage when it comes to dissociative disorders, so it has to be demons or something. It still has to kind of handle it with a certain tact. What I'm saying is I could get triggered.
Yeah.
You don't want to see what happens when Casey Ragdoll gets triggered. I will aloha snack bar.
Well, here's the thing with the cool thing about this movie was that if you guys ever seen the movie Unbreakable.
Yeah, I saw it like a long time ago.
It's a sequel to that, and they treat identity disorder as kind of like a superpower.
Okay.
That each personality has different abilities. So you have one that's really good at math, one that's really good at history, and then go ahead.
That makes some sense, and that there is in the real world. I understand there's fantasy and reality, but the problem is this is one of those disorders that's been so negatively portrayed and so incorrectly portrayed that it has really screwed up public perception. Like I still owe a lot of people's misunderstandings of narcolepsy to that Deuce Bigelow movie. But That makes sense because in the real world there is some specialization. You know, the different personality states each will have a certain kind of specialization to them because
Yeah,
they're
well,
fragments.
this kind of takes that to an nth degree because this
Yeah,
new one called the Beast is like fucking hulked out and stuff. Like he's got it's pretty much mind over matter. It's like his skin is that he actually can will his skin to be harder than 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 rock. He can bend bars just by
yeah.
willing himself to do it. It's
I'll
really
check the
cool.
movie out. Don't spoil it for me.
I'm not, but it's such a cool thing. And
Okay, well,
yeah,
you
good.
know, I'll get back to you
Yeah,
on this film.
yeah,
But something I had the idea to talk about is
yeah.
okay. So you know how there's this big push for diversity, right?
Mhm.
The thing is, it has already happened. It's as if the '90s never happened. Now I get it. The '90s weren't exactly the times of some change, of some subtle change. There were times when, you know, there was a generation coming up, and they wanted to make sure that kids didn't grow up to be assholes. But Power Rangers, right?
Yeah.
Look at Power Rangers. It was about different people with different talents, and from different ethnic backgrounds.
Well, yeah, even the new one's different. Like the new one's pretty
Seen
damn
that one yet?
different. Oh, it's really good. But yeah, but I mean, you
But
had
the whole point was that it was a show about diversity.
yeah, and it wasn't forced. They never actually addressed it. You know, that's they never
Well, yeah,
did.
it was just kind of there. Problem is, I think that the problem is we have these social justice warriors who want to see a problem with everything. Everything is problematic, as Lacey Green actually said,
Oh God.
and it addressed the problem by just showing how you know, people can work together, you know, and all that. How everybody's got their own talents, and then left it at that. It didn't, you know, shout from the rafters that there is a problem and it needs to be fixed, and you know, didn't say that Tommy Oliver, you know, owed anybody reparations or anything. You
Well, I
know,
mean, well, yeah, I mean, it because it didn't treat them as but they never addressed it, and I think that was that
yeah.
show's real strength was that it never brought up the issue.
It never made it never made any problems. It only
Yeah,
right. Am I
yeah,
right?
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean that's what's missing is they want everything to be uh,
super aware. They want.
yes, they just want to make an issue out of everything. They want to make a lecture out of everything. They want to make you know, they want it's almost as if they have a you know, whatever their backgrounds, you know, they're clearly using the concept of social justice as their religion, and it's like whatever it is, it's like they're looking for sermons that they don't get in their own private lives. Like they make this, they take diversity issues as they're preaching as their sermons instead of, you know, for what it is, which is a social thing, not a religion thing. It's like their brains are wired wrong or something.
Well, I mean, it's
Well,
often we call them cultists for a reason. You
Yeah.
know, it's what it feels like.
well, I have two things on that, and then I have a question I've really kind of been mulling over in my head that I have for both of you guys. But to kind of add on to that first point that you brought up, Casey, it's interesting because Gavin Gavin McGinnis actually I was listening to his podcast because I subscribe to it, and I think it was like about a month ago or so. He basically broke down social justice and said, you know, everyone likes to discuss, you know, how complex social justice warriors are, but in reality, he said, here's my theory. He said, I think that all of these social justice warriors out there, they look at old photos of the civil rights movement and you know, black guys and white guys getting dressed up in suits and getting the crap beaten out of each other, for a noble cause by the police. And he said, if you look at some of those photos of those old civil rights, protests, like the guys getting beat up look pretty badass. And
I apologize.
so
My connection, my router just had a seizure or something and dropped the connection. I'm back.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
but I know.
What did I miss?
Yeah, nothing. We were talking about why they are, and the theory is these guys really want to do a retread of the civil rights movement and go from where you were.
Yeah. No, exactly. I've said this before. Is that back when I was on the Social Justice Warriors page, whatever really became of that was that they're trying to play the hero when the work has already been done. And so instead of doing the unglamorous work of maintaining civil war rights or feminism or any such thing, instead of being the janitors or the watchers, what just happened?
She dropped. Yeah, she dropped again. But
instead of the glamorous work, we have these things in the modern day where we just have to prevent problems from recurring. And instead, they want to be the people who fix the problems. They want to be their idols. They want to be, the Dr. King or the Rosa Parks.
Or the Malcolm X in a lot of cases.
Yeah, or the Susan B. Anthony, or, God, I'm really failing my feminism here.
The Gloria Steinem and shit.
Yes, definitely. They want to be these people, and that those times have already come and gone. So they're making up new problems just to try to solve them.
Well, they're bringing back old problems.
Exactly. They're and they want so bad to fulfill this fantasy that they're willing to go out and commit hate crimes. Look at what happened across the United States with all those anti-Semitic threats and the vandalism. These were all done by social justice warriors and not by usual suspects.
Yeah, how fucked in your head can you be to just make up a hate crime like that? Like, I don't get it.
That's the thing that they, and the thing is, you could address these issues in media too, no less. I mean, let's talk about successful representations of stuff modern day, how I was talking about how Power Rangers had we're all equal and we're all special, we've got these different talents, we can work together. My Little Pony, friendship is magic. Listen, it addresses that. It even addressed the notion of equality is not being about making everybody
the same.
Yeah, the same was that threw the social justice warriors for a loop. When that the whole point was that they each have their own talents instead of all being the wrong kind of equal. And then, I mean, it was an episode about communism. Not an episode. It was a few episodes about communism, basically.
Yeah.
Or Steven Universe.
Talking about toxic fucking fandoms.
Oh yeah, let's not go there. Let's not go there. Okay, like this, it managed to outdo the Sonic the Hedgehog fandom.
Yeah, how the those people are pieces of shit.
The Sonic fandom has Chris Chan. Okay, how do you outdo?
Oh, you get a fan artist nearly kill herself, like for legit, like legitimately.
Yeah, but anyway, it's the SJW. It's like Homestuck. Like they managed to outdo the Homestuck fandom. The Homestuck lampoons immaturity, and instead it got a whole bunch of immature people in the fandom who didn't get the point that they were being ridiculed and dissected and deconstructed. They took it at face value because they're special. Anyway, addresses diversity. And it even addresses activism. It addresses rebellion. It addresses resistance. Without being SJW, it's like the legit. SJWs are hipsters. They're basically postmodern hipsters. Meanwhile, things like Steven Universe or My Little Pony are part of the New Sincerity movement, which is the movement, which is the kind of an answer or response to postmodernism.
Well, yeah, I think that's been my biggest problem. I think that's a better term to call them postmodernists, because SJW has a very clear connotation. It's more actions than a thought process.
Well, that's remember the warrior and social justice warrior comes from the term keyboard warrior. And it comes from the fact that these are internet tough guys.
Well, I mean,
write shitty think pieces all day long,
and not even
just. But when it comes to it, then you have, and they try to like be real world tough people. It comes across as fucking LARP, like it did in Berkeley, and you can't even use gas right. They try to throw smoke bombs at the other side, and the wind blew it on them.
But these keyboard warriors, people got to remember, before Fortune really started to really mobilize against these people, they could get people fired. That was the real danger behind these guys. But yeah, but more to your point, yeah.
Well, that's just because it was a new thing, and society didn't know how to cope with the zombie horde quite yet.
Also, yeah, I like a lot of these. Like, I love the Adventure Time thing, because it's they talk about issues.
Adventure Time is definitely about diversity too. I mean, they've got the different kingdoms and all that, and I mean, it's all code.
So this kind of brings me up to something that I've been dealing with this weekend in one of my Facebook groups that I frequent. So I'm starting to I haven't even said this on my own podcast. Yeah, you guys are the first to hear this. But I'm starting to think that Richard Spencer and the alt-right movement are kind of cut from the same cloth.
Oh, easily.
Well, yeah. I mean, people are going to give me shit for this, but I really think that I really don't have people can have a different opinion of this group, but we're talking about retreads from the 60s with the identitarians and stuff, which is all SJWs are. Don't think of Richard Spencer and the alt-right as the Klan. Think of them as the Black Panthers for white people. That's really what they are.
And then also looking at this world where am I still on?
Yeah, you are.
I don't even think
the account.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think of Richard Spencer as an because, like, honestly, like, that's what he wants. Deep down, he wants to think of him as like a Nazi, and I'm not going to give that douchebag action of.
I'm
on here twice now.
Yeah. Well, no, but the thing about, whatever. I hate retreads because that's we could go on a whole tangent about that. But yeah, but
here's the thing: is that they're both delusional about problems that don't really exist.
Well, I wouldn't say
listen. There is racism against white people. There are some issues that people have, but there's no single white race, and there's no white genocide. Okay.
Well, I wouldn't use genocide. Displacement's a real fucking thing.
Yeah, but they call it white genocide.
Yeah, and
I honestly believe. Okay, in the same way that the Nation of Islam believes now that it's the right and necessary and most humane thing to do is to breed out whiteness, because they believe that black is the dominant trait under all circumstances, because they believe in an original black master race of some kind.
They believe in Yakub. No,
but okay, they do want to take the white partners and create like a breeding thing that they want that, but then these white nationalists that believe in white genocide believe that that's like some worldwide conspiracy, and that like that's what's happening right now. They're like if Alex Jones wasn't satire.
Yeah, well, the thing I would say, when it comes, I could kind of see where they're talking about it. I wouldn't say it's a racial thing. I think it's an ideological reason.
Even a broken clock can strike the right time.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, like, for example, like, here's my issue, because this brings up another thing back to comic books. Yeah, I don't know for any of the people that are see this later. You guys know that Marvel got into some hot water by including a bunch of Quranic verses that said some really fuck shit about Jews and stuff, right?
Oh well, yeah, no, but that wasn't intentional.
I
That
disagree.
slipped me on their notice because of the way that the art that the artist coded things. You know, I mean, these were references that they weren't necessarily going to immediately pick up on.
Yeah, but the thing about this is though the only action that's been taken so far is disciplinary talking point. If this had been a Christian doing this, if it had been a white guy doing this, he would have been
No,
shit
I
canned
mean
immediately.
they're correcting it in future prints of the titles.
Yeah. They're correcting it, but I find this really.
They fired the guy.
Did they fire him?
Yeah, his career is over. He's done.
Good. Amend my last statement. Yeah, fuck that guy.
Blackball. Yeah,
Yeah,
he's done.
he's done. It's ridiculous. But the thing that gets me is I don't know. Whenever they talk about any of these topics, they never really approach it with any depth. It's very shallow.
I just tried to give myself a dreadlock so I could
Yeah.
say it's culturally appropriating. Um,
But
just one dreadlock.
one dreadlock, but
It didn't,
it didn't work.
wonderful. No,
Yeah,
my hair is too nice.
Yeah, it's too nice. Oh wow. But no, but they never approach it with any actual depth, and they always have to rely on stereotypes to beat home a message.
Yeah, I know, and that's the thing. Like I said, you know, it's these things need to be added to, and instead they just went with stereotypes. Let's talk about stereotypes for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, these people, when it comes to transgender issues, operate off of the stereotypes, the same stereotypes that the bigoted, right wingers are using. Only instead of saying, instead of using facts and saying what transgender people really are, they take the distortions and the complete fabrications coming from the right wing, and then they say, "Oh, these are actually good things," and then they run with that story.
Well, I mean,
They're just operating off of stereotypes of transgender people and just saying that trans is good just because fuck the right wing, as opposed to trans people are, human beings with a medical condition.
yeah. Well, the thing that really blows my mind is like whenever they deal with like a topic of, let's say, racism. I don't. There was one example that I really like. If you guys ever, I'm a big fan of old TV. Like I'm a huge fan of TV Land and stuff. So anything that's from like the 60s and 70s, it's really good. See, the 60s knew how to deal with racism because they
actually had it.
Because they actually had it, but they also showed that it comes from everyone. There's an episode of The Jeffersons, which people don't really talk about. George Jefferson was a hugely bigoted character. He was a legit bigot, but so was Archie Bunker. But both guys were, at the end of the day, not evil people. They were just a product of their time. And people don't have that nuanced opinion anymore. And if they did it today, they'd just say, "Oh yeah, white guy bad, poor brown person," and all that stuff. They would never really say. This is a relatively new thing because they could do it in the 90s. They did it a couple times in the 90s.
Well, I love how I don't know is anyone else here a fan of stand-up comedy and more specifically of Louis C.K.?
Yeah, I like Louis.
I fucking adore Louis C.K. I think he's a genius. But he said two things about stereotypes that I agree with. At some point, all stereotypes start because at some point they're true.
Yeah.
Maybe not on like a mass scale, but the reason why stereotypes do exist is because there is always one person fulfilling that stereotype. But then the other thing that he does is he'll kind of interchange stereotypes, and what I mean by that is like I don't know if you've heard his Mexican bit where he's like, this is a Mexican trying to cross the border, and instead of it being a Mexican, he'll do like a flamboyant gay guy,
Yeah.
and then he'll flip it where like he'll do like the Mexican. So like honestly, the whole thing with stereotypes is, I mean, they're kind of. I've always found them to be absurdly funny. How people, obsess over, oh, we shouldn't talk about stereotypes. I'm like, why not? You can just flip them and do all sorts of stuff with them.
So here's the thing I find kind of fascinating about the whole stereotype issue is that they can work, but they shouldn't be an all-encompassing thing. Like whenever you're doing a character.
Well, here's the thing. What I find going on stereotypes is there's certain situations, I think, where things become true problems in media is when there are stereotypes that are operating off of things that aren't true. Like you say, at some point all stereotypes are true. Well, but what about stereotypes that are complete misinterpretations? Like with trans issues, the trans stereotypes come from other groups, where the stereotypes would definitely apply to, like transvestites or drag queens.
Mm-hmm.
Stereotypes that rightly belong with those groups wind up getting applied to trans people. And then that makes the media actually harmful, or stereotypes that should apply to a particular mental illness, might get applied to another mental illness or another group of people.
Well, I mean, it comes to stuff like that because I don't mean to.
I'm sorry. This is just a thought that I just had. It makes sense where you have stereotypes that work and are funny, like Carlos Mencia. Oh man, he operates off of a lot of stereotypes, right?
Are you telling me Mencia is funny? Are you?
Yes.
Shame on you.
He operates off of a lot of stereotypes that are to some degree true.
Yeah.
Like the most hilarious thing he does is like whenever he needs something that requires whenever he does a bit that requires for a white person's house, like what the white person stereotype is really WASPs, upper middle class to upper class white Anglo-Saxon Protestants.
Yeah.
And he has a fancy house and a fancy neighborhood, right? So you expect the class thing, from the class stereotype. So anytime he needs a white people house, it's really just his house in the fancy neighborhood, and that's funny. That's part of the joke, right?
Yeah.
But that stereotype has a grain of truth to it, and that WASPs are usually wealthy.
Well, or fairly well off. Yeah, I get it, but I think it comes back to the people that take these fucking stereotypes seriously, and it comes, which I find funny that people actually do.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's not even just what I find funny about these people is that they're kind of people that say, "Oh, don't stereotype me," but they still rely on stereotypes to perform their worldview, in deeply ingrained stuff, like. I get that, I get that a certain level of truth is fine, but at some point your life experiences should tell you otherwise. Like that should kick in at some point. But that's why I say that a lot of these people are just shallow people in every sense of the world, in every sense of the word.
Yeah, they're very shallow, and I think a lot of them, to be honest, a lot of them have mental illnesses or a certain types of neurodivergence that aren't coming with appropriate handling by society. To tell you the truth.
Well, I wouldn't say that they're mental. Some of them might be, but I would say a lot of them are just very sheltered people. If I'm being honest, I think a lot.
Oh yeah, well no, I mean, right now the social justice warrior stereotype is a wealthy, white, a well-off white hipster that doesn't really have that many real-world problems. right?
That is the stereotype now. But I would say if you want to go category by category, like the white one.
Oh shit, we're just losing people left and right here.
I guess. This is all double exposed.
Hello, chap.
Hello, Governor. Oh dear.
Yeah. I mean, so, but getting back to like the problems of stereotype of stereotypes, um, I feel like the media, like just in general, tends to make like a mountain out of a moat.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing is the media. What a lot of people aren't willing to admit, especially the media itself, is the media is its own class at this
Hey, can
point.
you guys hear me
Yes,
now?
we can.
All right, good,
Yeah.
good.
But no, like I was saying, like you really could, when it comes to the stereotype deal, you really could just break it down to. Forget it. I lost my train of thought. God damn it.
Well, what I was gonna say, kind of in response to that case, because I think I understand what you were saying, but what I would say is, I kind of feel like the media overblows everything, and they kind of make a mountain out of a molehill on everything, and so that's why you get these stereotypes. Like I feel like these stereotypes like wouldn't exist if the media didn't make like a big thing out of them. So,
Well, the media has definitely got marching orders. Some clever racist bastard, okay, is figured out how to get people to segregate themselves and resurrect these old problems.
Well, I wouldn't say it's. Look, I don't. Again, it's like, is it a grand conspiracy? I don't think so.
It's got to be. It's too clever to not be a grand conspiracy. Somebody, some magnificent bastard is getting black people to segregate themselves.
I think it's a natural tendency for two things. I think it's black people being sold on a bill of goods by their history professors, and two, I think it's that, and I also think it's the natural. I think it's the tendency for people naturally want to self-segregate, whether that's by race, class, religion. Is it becoming a bigger problem now, at least in America?
That's definitely being taken advantage of. But the thing is, here's the thing: are you in any activism circles at all?
Not really.
Okay. There are these so-called community organizers, which is another reason to be
Jesus
suspicious of Barack Obama, because he was a quote-unquote community organizer.
Yeah.
But these aren't really organizers so much as community organization has gotten cucked, so to speak, and that there are these so-called community organizers who are actually propaganda shills.
dude, it's
There are these so-called community organizers getting marching orders and seeding communities with these lies. And so that's the thing is I'm confident that some people up at the top are intentionally dividing us, whether that's because they're racists and they're trying to bring back the glory days by or if they're, something else. There's definitely there are definitely hands.
I wouldn't say I would say that you're right, but I would say the motivation's wrong. I think it's much easier. I think it depends on who we're talking about. I think there's a lot of people working together to some common goal. It's called a serendipitous conspiracy, is kind of how people worded it. But it's basically coming down to, you have genuine races. They're kind of more on the ground level, but as you get up, it becomes more about money or political power. And what let's be honest, which political party has cornered the market on being the party of the minority groups? And
the Democrats.
Let's be honest, that's what's been going down, and that's kind of been the ethos of that for a long time. Now, I think when it comes to entertainment, it's easy to show that. However, there was a time not too long ago where you could see people who followed, and I'm going to show my own ideology, conservative ethics. Like the Jeffersons are a model of that. Go look at that sometime. Tell me that George and Louisiana the model of capitalists of their time. And then you also have numerous examples from history about that. But somewhere along the line, and like you're saying, these community organizers got in there and they started to propagandize, and that took
Yeah, but the community
decades.
organizers are these propaganda tools. They are taking marching orders. Do you understand? They are foot soldiers.
I understand what you're saying, but I would say that what you think is their goal is very different from what they want. They just want power.
What their goal is, what the goals they're working towards are different than what they think they are.
Yeah,
it's very easy to get a shell to actually believe in what you're trying to sell. Okay? So these people might believe they're selling a cure when it is, in fact, they're selling snake oil without realizing it.
They're well-intentioned idiots. That's what
they're the useful idiots. Exactly.
Yeah, never attribute to malice what needs to be stupidity.
Here's the thing. It's like the difference between what Zoe Quinn's supporters think is happening. Not the inner circle, because these people definitely at some point know what's wrong. I mean, we can only look to Ian Miles Chong for somebody that was so close they're like, no, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah, he got the fuck out.
Yeah, but as for her almost normie supporters, okay, they genuinely believe the narrative, then they genuinely think they're doing good, and so they're spreading out all this misinformation. It's kind of like that, but in a bigger scale with much higher stakes and much less like retarded origins.
So this brings me back to something that I talked about last year with a couple of folks. So you guys remember when that shooting of like 12 cops took place in like Dallas last year, right?
Yeah.
Well, so a bunch of my older friends were shocked that had happened, and I explained to them, and this was individually with a couple of people. I did this individually instead of a group, but basically with all of them, I said, well, because the whole narrative was you can't blame Black Lives Matter for this, and I said, well, actually, you can, and here's why. I'm not saying it was entirely malicious on their part, but they were saying that that they were making it seem as if all cops were going around hunting black people, right? So with that narrative in mind, what are gullible? I don't even want to say gullible black people, because it could sound
scared. They're scared.
People that aren't capable of abstracting. I mean, that's going to be a number of groups. It's going to be malnourished people. It's going to be physically sick people. It's going to be mentally ill people. Right. It's going to be neurodivergent people. We're talking about
scared people.
Right. Well, okay. So whatever.
People without the faculty to differentiate.
In this case, though, we're talking about scared black people. So I said, okay, so you have Black Lives Matter perpetuating this, stereotype of all cops are killing, black folks. So what do you think is going to happen? At some point, some scared black guy is going to say, well, shoot, I'm going to fight back and, fight against the establishment. Like, I'm not saying that what that guy, did was right at all, but I can.
It makes sense given the reality that he was sold.
Yeah. The reality, because people are saying, oh, he was just crazy. Well, that might be
This is this is the inevitable consequence of spreading fear, uncertainty, and doubt, which is violence. Like you see this with God. Why can't I escape trans issues? You see this with trans issues. Okay,
Yeah.
you say that men in dresses are going to invade bathrooms. Well, what's going to happen then is that you have people starting to police bathrooms when and cisgender people are getting caught up in this paranoia where if they look too mannish, somebody, harasses them and they're not even trans, and then it's like, well, what did you think would start to happen?
And I mean, think about it from our perspective that the scenario that they set up is actually pretty terrifying. The way they set it up. Same thing with like a lot of Christians who were against gay marriage. Like the whole fear wasn't so much that we just hate gays. And this, I'm going back to another Louis C.K. joke here, but the big fear that a lot of Christians had was that gay people were going to start going up to straight guys, and literally screwing them in the ass in public. I mean, we laugh, but that was seriously, what some of the, anti-gay, conservatives like, Brian Fisher were, all.
Which is hilarious because they were basically afraid that gay people would start treating heterosexual people like heterosexual people treat each other.
Well, yeah, actually that's true, but I mean, that's a whole nother enchilada. So,
well, I mean, the thing about all this, I hate people just need to chill the fuck out. I think that's the moral of this story. Just guys, if anyone ever sees this, just chill the fuck out. Don't.
Yeah, we still have no viewers.
It doesn't matter. I will ship this everywhere.
I blame you.
Yes, I know. I'm terrible. This is a hobby. I don't fucking make money off of it.
Well, neither do I. Which is why, Mr. Kaze. Okay, just you expect me to put in, solid work on something that's just a hobby. I mean, I'm not going to put in solid work until I know that I'm not going to get screwed once I ever go live with the shit that I dug up, because oh my god, I'm a fake reporter and then I accidentally discovered real reporter things. What do you want from me? But this is a hobby. I get it. Even the SJW page at one point, it had like over 100,000 fans, but like nobody would tune into the streams. People would there was like maybe 100 people.
Yeah, it was a shit. It was a shitpost site. That's all it is.
That's why we're not a shitpost site. We made serious contributions to things.
Yeah.
Goy Sexual, back before he lost his mind and his ability to control his obsessive compulsive disorder, he did really good statistical analyses that actually made me less afraid of getting murdered in a parking lot. Okay.
Yeah.
So, that was good work. That was God's work.
Yeah, well, we kind of veered off the course, but that's typical for people with autism. And
I'm not autistic.
Yeah,
just not autistic.
The internet makes us all autistic.
I just have a convergence of several different physical and mental health problems that can simulate autism kind of accurately.
Yeah, well, I just spent too much time on the internet.
I can communicate with animals, and I, am willing to stack rocks in order of ascending size. I mean, it's just, and I get upset when things are out of place. That's not autistic. That's just
you.
It's just OCD that many autistic people have.
All right, so it's 11:09. I'm gonna make this a very short stream just because.
I didn't know you were in a different time zone. That explains why you're always bothering me when it's late.
Yes, I'm gonna sign off here for tonight. I want to thank my my co-hosts for tonight. I think it's fair to call you guys my co-hosts from now on.
I
at least
prefer
my-
contributor, but co-host works as well.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's about time that we both got promotions from guest to co-host.
Yeah,
because-
your co-host now.
You're always inviting me and shit, man. You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, you
and
guys.
I'm
are-
always willing to jump on because I'm a loser and I miss my popularity a little bit.
We
Not
are.
gonna lie.
We're all losers. So, anyways, that's it from me. I hope we'll see you guys next weekend. Next weekend we definitely will have somebody else. I will make sure of that because we are. He's gonna chill because I got a bigger friend, Politipod, coming on next week, and we're gonna be talking
Is
about.
that gonna get us viewers?
It's gonna be. Well, we're talking about the First World War. So yes.
Oh, cool.
gonna
I
be
could go on about how all of our problems now come from the Treaty of Versailles. But yes,
Yep.
That'll be
we should open with music. We need to do some Franz Ferdinand
Yes, I will.
together. Let's all sing Franz Ferdinand when we go live for that one. Anyway,
All right. So once again, thanks for coming in. For the people that didn't show up, but thanks, guys. See you next weekend. Bye.
bye bye.